Once there were 3 young gods. They were not the first created, nor the last, but they only knew of each other. They wandered the cosmos freely, but their tranquility was not to last. An unseen force attacked the gods and cast them down to a distant planet. The siblings were separated, and it would be many years before they were reunited. The youngest god, a boy with red skin, small gray horns, and black feathery wings, landed in an inhospitable desert. He would have perished, but a child named Karis found him and brought the god to his home, Dikren. The god was named Mianite, and the natives raised him as a normal member of the town, not knowing of his powers. The middle god, a boy with tan skin and soft white hair, was found just outside of a large metropolis called Mianite. A group of scholars adopted the boy and quickly found out that the child was in fact a god. They named him Mianite after the continent they lived on. The eldest god, a girl with pale skin and long purple hair, ended up on a small island in the middle of the ocean. She was stuck there until she was spotted by 2 kids named Redbeard and Capsize on a passing boat. She was taken to their home, a small village named Ionaria. Like the citizens of Dikren, the people of Ionaria had no idea that the child, whom they named Mianite, was a god. As the gods grew, they adopted the mentalities of their homes. Living in the peaceful Ionaria, Mianite became an excellent negotiator and mediator, while Mianite thrived in the battle-oriented society of Dikren. Mianite was exalted as a god, and while he never really got a large ego from the constant praise, he was never able to simply make friends as Mianite and Mianite had. He could remember his siblings and miss them greatly, so he sent messengers as far as they could travel to find the other gods. As time went on, the inhabitants of Dikren and Ionaria were slowly beginning to realize that their adopted children were not what they seemed. After an accident in the Nether, the people of Dikren discovered that Mianite was impervious to lava, and in Ionaria, a mishap in the end revealed that Mianite had the ability to float through space. Both towns had received Mianite's message, and both gods could easily remember their siblings, so they set off for Mianite. The 3 gods were finally reunited, and their powers slowly began to increase. They were overjoyed to be together, and excitedly showed one another the places they called home, as well as introduced each other to their close friends. The gods watched over the world, and divided the lands as best they could. Mianite chose to watch over the harshest lands, such as the deserts, mesas, and the bottomless void. Mianite observed the more tranquil places, such as the End, the vast oceans, and the winding rivers that ran through much of the land. Mianite kept watch over the rest. This worked for a good amount of time, until a new god appeared. This new god called himself the Shadow, and he was eons older than the siblings. He wished to rule over land as well, and after some negotiations, each god offered up a part of their land. Mianite gave up the void, Mianite the rivers, and Mianite the intricate underground caves. The Shadow accepted, but he secretly wished to rule over all of the lands. He approached each god individually, asking them to help overthrow the other 2. All the gods declined, and met in secret to discuss the threat. The gods decided that in order to beat the Shadow, someone must go to his temple and destroy it. All gods are tied to the original temple, and destroying it would greatly weaken the Shadow. The gods attempted to create forces to combat the Shadow, but only Mianite was successful in creating life, naming the being Furia. Competitions were held around the realms, and eventually 4 heroes were chosen. There was the assassin, who accepted Mianite's blessing, the archer, who accepted Mianite's blessing, and the swordsmaster, who accepted Mianite's blessing. The final hero was the hunter, the only girl of the group. She decided not to accept any god's blessing, relying on her own power. The gods fought the Shadow, and were on the verge of defeat when the heroes destroyed the temple. The Shadow was defeated at the cost of the heroes' lives, and the gods went to their respective domains to heal. Although Mianite had fought alongside his siblings against the Shadow, the elder god's words echoed in his head. He was physically the strongest, why should he rule alongside others? Many of the realms were beginning to cut the assassin, his champion, out of the lore, completely exclude Mianite or demonize them both. Mianite began to visit Karis and Dikren less and less, spending much more time brooding in the Nether. The youngest god's rage grew and grew until darkness overtook him. When Mianite was visiting Aethoria, far from her temple in Ionaria, He attacked her. Mianite separated his sister's soul from her heart and hid them both away. He then cut off her temple in the end from Ionaria and destroyed the island village. Mianite was furious and banished Mianite to the Nether indefinitely, leaving Mianite to rule over all of the overworld and the End on his own. He kept a careful eye on the scattered people of Ionaria, ensuring that Ionite's people were watched over. However, when Daikron was attacked by a tyrant known as the Sand Lord, Mianite did nothing, and by the time the Sand Lord was taken down by a group of wizards, nothing was left of Mianite's homeland. In an attempt to mount a rescue mission for his sister, Mianite created a small valley surrounded by tall hills, barren deserts, and vast ocean. Any beings who thought they were worthy of being a hero could come and train. Many generations came and went, and while some were closer than others, none were successful. However, one group has managed to do the impossible. There are 4 of them, so close to the first 4 heroes. There is Syndicate, who chose Mianite as his god, Jericho and Firefox, who follow Mianite, and Captain Sparkles, who listens to my teachings. They have freed me from my prison, and are now on their way to Aethoria to start a new story. I hope they can find happiness despite losing close friends. However, Syndicate's new powers will not be as much of a blessing as he believes they are, and he will undoubtedly need help. I fear that the heroes may once again be called upon to help the gods. There is a shadow over the land, and we all must stand together if we are to fight this darkness.